Creating and sharing knowledge that empowers children and young people to understand the steps they can take to reduce their risks, increase their resilience to mental health problems, and improve their mental health.
Our vision is to create a world with a sound mental health for all.
People do attempt suicide.
Naturally, people are bound to judge. But judging and expressing the judgment is something that we can preserve for ourselves.
We find that suicide bereavement is even more difficult than losing someone through natural death.
Be empathetic in the way you approach their situation. Because if you show too much sympathy, they will also start feeling guilty.
Greetings to you all. Welcome to our show, Tap In. Hello everyone, welcome to our show, Tap In. I'm Tawanda, Murepa, your host, and today we're going to discuss about breast cancer and mental health. As you all know, the month of October is the month of breast cancer awareness. So today in the studio, we are going to discuss about breast cancer and mental health with a survivor, Millicent Mpofu. Millicent Mpofu, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself a bit so that people might know you?
My name is Millicent Mpofu. I'm 50 years old. I'm a cancer survivor.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, personal questions here, like about your personal experience and about the journey through the treatment and up to the survivorship. All right. So when and how did you find out that you had breast cancer?
Okay, what happened is I wasn't feeling well. It was in May 2019. I went to the clinic just for a routine checkup. And I realized that I had a lump on my right breast. So I asked, luckily there was a female doctor there. So
Okay.
I asked her to check, what it was. And she says, you can't tell just by looking at it.
Okay.
And she asked me if it was painful or not. And I said, no, it wasn't. And she says, that's something else. Because if it's painful, it's a cyst. If it's not painful, it's a cancer. It's cancerous. So she sent me for a mammogram, and I went and got the mammogram done. That was on the 6th of May. That's when I got the results back.
Okay.
2019. I went back to the results. They were sealed. And when I went to the doctor's rooms, he says to me, do you want the good news or the bad news? And I said, well, either will do because you're going to tell me anyway.
Okay.
So he told me the bad news first, which he thought was the good news.
All
That
right.
you got breast cancer, but it's stage 1.
Okay.
And stage 1 was the easiest. It can be removed and it can disappear.
Okay. He thought it was a good news, but all right. So how did you respond after that?
Well, I said, you know what? In my family, I got no history of cancer. So I don't think that's cancerous. I think it might be a cyst.
Okay.
So I had to seek a second opinion before I had the lump removed. So I went to another surgery. He referred me there. They did the tests and the results came back the same. It was positive cancer.
Okay. You mentioned something to do with family here. How was it? Was it difficult for you to communicate or to tell your family member about, about the breast cancer situation?
Not really, because what happened is when I was coming from the doctor, when I was told that I had cancer, I did a conference call to my kids in South Africa, my sister, and those here, and I was screaming my head off. I was walking from the hospital to Sima's clinic.
Okay.
Sima's head office for them to do a quote for me. Okay. So I was in tears. I couldn't even catch a bus. I was walking. So I went there and they kept calling me. I said, okay, I've done a conference call, so I just need time out. And they said, no, you can't. Because we heard of people that if they say that, it's like they want to commit suicide or something.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm not ready to go yet. I'm going to fight it.
Okay. So after the doctor said that she had breast cancer, was there any support? Immediately, was there any support after the doctor said what he thought was good news? Was there any support for you?
Yes, luckily my friend her mom had cancer, and my sister's friend, her mom had cancer, breast cancer. So they came to the house and they gave me counseling.
Okay.
So I knew I wasn't
Okay.
alone.
What about health professional, quality health, especially quality help from the health professions?
Okay.
Was it there at the moment that the doctor said that you had breast cancer?
Yes, there was. I went to the Cancer Association of Zimbabwe,
Okay.
and their counselors there. And
Or you went after? I mean, immediately.
yeah, it
there
was
in the
immediately
room.
after that
Okay,
when he told
okay,
me.
okay,
Someone
all right.
referred me to Cancer Association of Zimbabwe. And I
All
went
right.
there because I had so many questions
Okay.
to ask them. And I said I didn't understand what was going on, why me? And they said, well, one of the ladies there, the counselor, had breast cancer. And she said, I'm a survivor. And you're going to survive. And she told me a story about her sister who had stage 4, and the doctors had given up on her, and they didn't give up on her. And
Okay.
she's still alive. So
All
I
right.
thought, oh, I've got stage 1 cancer. So why should I worry?
Okay.
But I was worried, just,
Yeah, I understand. All right. So after that, how long does it take for you to start the treatment process?
Okay, I had to get a biopsy done first
Okay.
to make sure it's cancer. So I went to the doctor. I was referred to a doctor, specialist, and he did the biopsy and took it to the lab. It came back cancerous. So he said, if we prick the pimple and leave it, it might spread fast. So we have to remove the breast. So, and he said the one I had, the cancer, was the one which spreads fast as soon as they prickle the pimple. So I went there and they did the biopsy. The results came out. I went to work and I was in tears. And my boss said, no, don't worry. My mom had breast cancer. So I can, help you out here. And they paid for my operation.
Oh.
The whole lot.
Oh, all right. That's wonderful.
The whole lot.
Okay, that's wonderful. So now, is the treatment accessible, let's say, for anyone?
It's very expensive. And a lot of people are dying because of that.
Okay.
I even have a case of a friend who died because she couldn't afford
That's
the
great.
treatment.
Okay.
So the medication is from the chemotherapy, the radiation, and all other tablets you get there, they are very expensive. I was lucky. I had a sister who helped me. Her husband is a doctor, so he was helping me out with the money. And I had friends overseas who helped me out, my brothers, my uncles. If I had done it on my own, I wasn't going to afford it. It was too much for me.
Okay, so there's a lot of people who are not affording it.
Yes.
Okay, and at that moment when you realize that you can't afford it, how does it feel? Like, how did you feel? Relying on someone's to pay payment. Okay.
And you think, what if they've managed to pay for 1 session and I'm supposed to have 6 sessions? Because I did 6 months of chemotherapy and each month has 3 weeks. So you can imagine that medication, the first time, 2019, it was 20,000 was a lot of money.
Oh.
And my treatment was 20,000 for the 3
US
weeks.
dollars.
It was bond.
Okay.
But it was a lot of money.
It was okay.
It was bond, but getting it, because I wasn't getting paid 20,000 at that time. So getting that money was really, I was grateful for the people who helped me out, because I knew that if they don't help me out, then there's no treatment for me.
All right. Wow. So what were the biggest challenge that you face getting through the treatment?
When you have chemotherapy, I'm saying it's a horrible treatment. It's good treatment, that it helps us with the cancer thing, but it kills all the cells first before it works. So when it kills all the cells, you lose your appetite, you swell up, you got tempers. So it's everything in one. So it's really, it's difficult. When you go through that, it's very difficult. So
both emotionally and
yes,
physically.
yes,
Okay.
because you get so tired easily, you throw up, you can't eat. The second session, I had to go and get a drip. I think I had 2 drips because I could hardly walk, I couldn't eat. And it's like you lose your eyesight because there's no water in your body, and it's horrible.
Okay. What about your mental state by that time? By that,
You start thinking about a lot of things. Like when the second session, I thought, okay, I'm going to die because I was so weak. And that's when I think people go crazy during that session. I'm not surprised because a lot of things be going on in your mind. You'll be trying to put your house in order, thinking I'm going because you can't rely on anything because you can't eat and you need food to survive. But with the chemo, it was difficult to eat anything.
all right. Okay. I know you mentioned it earlier on, but did you receive a referral letter or a referral from your doctor to see a psychologist or to see a counselor or to see someone who can take care of the mental side of?
No, but I was told by a friend to go to Cancer Association of Zimbabwe.
So the doctor didn't say anything, didn't refer you to see a psychologist or a counselor?
No.
Okay. All right. All right. So, but you did see a therapist later on?
The doctor later on, my specialist, he was like my counselor now.
Okay. Later on?
Yes.
Okay.
After the operation.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you utilize, I know you mentioned it earlier on, but how was it in the support group, that you joined the Cancer Association of Zimbabwe? How was it?
When you meet people with the same illness as you feel at home. Because they are so helpful. And some of them used to come to see me in hospital. Because I got the groups from the Cancer Association of Zimbabwe. They give me the groups, they put me in the groups. And one of the ladies from the Cancer Association came to see me. And when you have the operation, they drain the fluids from the breast. So she got me a bag where I could put my fluid case in there and just walk around with it. That's so no one can see, what you have.
Okay.
And she was really supportive. She used to come and see me. And she was really supportive.
Okay. All right. So is there any special help that you can use to cope with uncertainty when it comes okay, am I going to get another, or maybe am I going to, maybe the cancer, is it going to reappear again? How did you cope with that uncertainty?
Well, for me, unfortunately, it came back 3 times.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Because the first time when I had the chemotherapy, my medical aid was exhausted, so I couldn't do the radiation. So I was given a tablet for 6 months. Then when I went back for checkup, it had come back.
Okay.
Then they gave me 6 sessions of chemotherapy, but I couldn't afford, so I did 2. Then I had to go for radiation. Then I had to go to the hospital to Paris for radiation because I couldn't afford the private doctor.
Okay.
It was quite a lot of money they wanted. So I went to Paris. She gave me a referral letter to go to the hospital. So I went, they assess you, then they give you a date, 3-4 weeks. Then you go back, then they do a plan for you for radiation. So luckily, CMAS managed to pay the whole lot now.
Okay.
For the radiation, because I think I had accumulated some funds in my account. So they managed to pay for the 15 sessions, which I did. And when I finished the 15 sessions, when I went for my checkup, there was a lump on the side of the operation, but under my arm. I'm thinking, I thought it had gone. The doctor said, no, it's cancerous, you need an operation. So I went for another operation this year on the 13th of April, 2 days after my birthday.
Okay.
So
when is your birthday?
The 11th of April.
11th of April.
So
Okay.
I went on the 13th.
Okay. All right.
Then after a week, I went back for the stitch to be removed. The cancer was back again. Now on the whole skull. The cancer was back, and you could see the pimples out. They were out. But when I had the operation a week before, there was nothing. But when I went back to get the stitches removed, then it had come back. So my doctor said, no, we're not taking off the stitches. We are doing the operation. So they did the operation on the 28th of April this year. So I stayed for 6 weeks with the stitches, and they were draining. Then I went back to the hospital, and they said I had to do some tests to see if it was still there. So I went for some tests, and they said I'm in remission.
Meaning?
The cancer is gone.
The cancer is gone.
Yeah.
All right. So there's no longer uncertainty issues there.
Well, for me, no, because I'm going to beat it.
Okay.
I'm going to beat it.
Wow. All right.
I don't want to see it ever.
Okay. Yeah, that's positive. All right. So now, do you see after the treatment? Do you see a difference in yourself? Like, if so, how?
I value life more because I have friends who passed on because of cancer. They're the best treatments and just reoccurred, and they're gone. And when I was going through this treatment, I was thinking about my children. And I said, who's going to look after them? I've got 3 of my own and 3 of my late sister. I've got 6 kids. And I've got 2 grandkids. So I was just thinking, if I go now, what's going to happen? And I think that's what made me pull through. Because I remember the 6th session I had, I could hardly get up. I went on a Friday, Saturday, then Sunday. I thought, no, I'm going to get up. And I did. So when my kids came into my room, they could see me sweeping the room. And they could say, but last night you could hardly get up. I said, I've got a willpower to live. And I'm going to live. And I did.
Okay, so you're saying now you are more positive.
Yes. And
okay.
Because if you don't go through an experience, it doesn't teach you anything. But if you go through an experience, it teaches you a lot.
Okay.
And you have to value life.
All right.
That, this is my life. And I live it the way I want. Cancer or no cancer.
Okay. You have to value your life.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You mentioned something to do with 3 relocation, 3 times that you got admitted. Who was paying the medical bills?
My medical aid was paying, and my sister was paying. She was helping out with the shortfalls.
Okay, I'm asking
My
this.
sister and my husband.
I'm asking this for other people who might not have means. Let's say the cancer reoccur, and then someone doesn't have money to put through or to go to medical treatment. All right. So, what is what is one thing that you wish you knew before you start the treatment process?
I wish I had known that I could, if you get the money to do this, you can beat it. But the thing is, like, there are people out there, we call them doctors, home doctors.
Okay.
They want to tell you that, if you do this, if you do chemotherapy, it kills all your cells and you die. And I was told that. But my sister's husband is a doctor, and he sat me down and says, you know what? Treatment is good for you. Go for it. If you can't afford, we will help you out. So if we don't listen to those people out there, we can move forward with our lives. But if we keep listening to them, that's when lots of people are dying. Because if I tell them that you can't do chemotherapy, you can't do radiation, because they say it burns all your tissues and everything else. It doesn't. It just leaves a black mark because that's radiation. But it doesn't, for me, it didn't affect anything else. I was going to radiation, going to work. Same day, I'll just leave the clinic, go to work, and I'll work the whole day. And they say, oh no, you can't, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to do this, but I managed.
Okay.
So we shouldn't listen to those people. Listen to your doctor. If he tells you what to do, follow that.
Okay.
And not anyone else.
Okay, yeah, because we find out that a lot of people, they don't know about, the treatment process.
Yes.
And some of the people might also fear and might also use other alternatives or other form of treatment like our herbal,
Yes.
what, yeah,
Yes.
all right. So what was the most difficult part of your journey and how did you manage to overcome? I'm sure you mentioned something, but how did you manage to overcome that most difficult?
The difficult part was the treatment. And because it makes you feel sick and you need family around you. You need support, you need love. And I had all that.
Okay.
From my maid to my kids.
Okay.
And to my sisters and my uncles. The whole family were there for me. And we need that support because if you don't have that support, then you won't be able to survive. And also positive support. Because you can find someone saying, oh, don't go because you will die. If you do radiation, you will die. And they used to tell me, you go for treatment, you'll be fine. And even when I was there at my doctor's, because I was doing the chemo in a private clinic, and they would phone me, how are you feeling? This and this. I said, are you okay? And you can see here, they used to put the needles here, and your skin changes. This is from 2019. And, my veins had collapsed, but now they're growing back because my doctor said they'll grow back, and they did. So people might think, oh, you've got, this black marks on your hand and everything else. It's black marks. For me, that's for my life. They saved my life. I know the needles are not fun, and the red devil is not fun. That's one of the drugs they use.
Okay.
But it helps you. So if you go for radiation, chemotherapy, whatever treatment the doctor tells you, you will survive.
Okay, so you use your family to overcome.
Yes,
this
I did.
Positive support
I
to
did.
overcome.
I did.
Okay, which is wonderful. And you also mentioned that there's negative support whereby people just come in and tell you things. Everyone's trying to be a doctor nowadays.
Yes.
Everyone's trying to tell people what to do. And all right. So what advice would you give on how best to support loved one who is going through breast cancer?
When we're going through the treatment, we lose our temper, but be patient with us. Because my kids were counseled by my doctor, and they were told that if I ask for something, then you take 2 seconds to get up. To me, it seems like you don't want to get it. So I will get up and get it myself. We lose our temper, we shout at people, but you just have to be patient. Because they say it's like psychological. You think, oh, now because I'm sick, they don't want to support me. But it's not that. They want to support you. But the thing is, getting up, it's like they've taken too long to get up, to get me a cup of water or something. So we just have to be patient with the people with cancer. It doesn't matter whether it's prostate, brain cancer, whatever. But we lose our temper because we think, people don't want to listen to us. So we just have to be patient with us. Okay, I lost my temper a lot of times.
All right.
And my grandson will say, oh, look at Gogo. Gogo is angry today.
Okay.
But he knew how to soothe me. Do you want a cup of tea? It was this small. Do you want a cup of tea? And we asked his mom to make me the cup of tea now, even if he asked me. So I think that kind of love from a child, you would say, oh, okay, I've got something to live for.
Okay.
So if your family supports you, they have to support you. Then
All
you have the will to live. If they don't, then you just give up.
Okay, you mentioned something to do with the loss of temper. What are other psychological or behavioral changes that are that are more likely to develop when you're going through that treatment?
Like for me, I used to forget a lot. At times I still do.
Okay.
So forgetfulness, the tiredness is there. The temper, losing your temper is there. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah. But
Okay.
losing the temper is the most.
The most. All right. Would you want to share the worst about it? Like the moment that you lose your temper, what exactly would you do besides shouting? Or would you go an extra mile trying to?
The thing is, you won't have strength to hit anyone.
Okay.
But
you would
it's
want to.
Like you shout.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, what would be your last message? Maybe message of hope to people who are watching us. What would be your last message of
Okay. The first
hope
thing
or
I want
inspiring?
is people should get tested. They self examination where you, like, if it's for breast cancer, they say you put your hand under your breast, you start feeling for lumps. If you can't, you have to go for a mammogram. Cancer is real. It's there. And herbs, some of them use herbs, but for me, I would rather go for the professional treatment. The chemotherapy, the radiation, and the tablets. At times they give you tablets for cancer, and they are very expensive. But if you can get help, please go for treatment. Because if we use herbs, a lot of times we don't have the measurements. We don't know how to measure the herbs. So we just put in our porridge, we put in our water, we bath with it. How do we know it's helping out? I've got a case of a lady who had a lump on her breast. Then she went to Murepa to some gogo, and she got the herbs to put on her wound. It was drying outside, but it came through the back. It was pushing the cancer to the back. She didn't know that. It was too late when she noticed that it was coming out. And then it became septic, and it was stage 4, and she died. You think it's drying up, because it will dry up, but it's going to the back. So we have to be careful of what means of treatment we use.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So we come to an end of our show, and I'm sure a lot of people, you learned a lot, especially on the journey that Millicent Mpofu took to fight breast cancer, and she was brave enough. And we also had some of her experience, and before we close, I would also want to read a comment from Faith. All right. We do need more funds set aside to assist those with cancer for treatment. In 2019, 20K was needed a lot of money. Wow, yeah, it's Faith. We said that, okay, we need to set a lot of funding, especially to the treatment of cancer, and 20,000 is a lot of money. Early detection is critical, but our healthcare system needs to be improved in order to support low-income people who are diagnosed for cancer. Certainly, it's painful to lose a life. Wow, yeah, that's true. You were lucky, and because you were supported by people or family members who had money. But we have a lot of people out there who can't afford, and we don't have people that can pay for them for the treatment processes. So I think the healthcare and the government out there is a challenge for them, and also for other corporate world to do something, especially to set aside funds that can be allocated for people who are fighting breast cancer. All right. We also have a powerful story of a survivor. We need more grace upon you and story. All right. Okay. So, is there any other questions or comment? Okay. So you heard the story, and I can't add anything. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more updates. We are in the month of breast cancer. please go and get screened. Everyone, you should go and get screened. And also the parents, you should also motivate the young girls or even boys to go and get screened for cancer. Thank you for watching. This is our show Tap In. See you next time. But